Hello there, people of the internet. I have a pocket full of tea bags, but this has nothing to do with the video that we're talking about here. Instead, we're going to be looking at this pocket. I have some 4570. These are hand loads made by yours truly. I'm using a 425 grain bullet, which is a heavier bullet than I've ever stuck through my Trapdoor Springfield, which is what we're going to be using here. The Trapdoor Springfield seems to really like 300 grain bullets, so I'm hoping that these aren't too heavy. We'll find out. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out a good smokeless powder load to stick through my Trapdoor Springfield, which I'm sure I'm already going to get yelled at for. People telling me, yeah, it's a black powder gun, only shoot black powder from it. There are safe smokeless powder loads that you can stick through it. The big thing with black powder and smokeless is you got to make sure that you don't exceed a certain pressure point. But essentially, I have not a whole lot, but the most amount of powder I have for loading is 4064. So I'm trying to see if I can figure out a good loading for 4064 for 4570. That being said, 4064 is a really slow burning powder. It's typically what I use in like my old military surplus guns because they're old and dated, and this is just a really good slow burning powder to make sure that we don't get excess pressures all that quickly. Well, 4570, just because it doesn't have a neck on it, if you use lighter weight bullets with 4570 or with 4064, it just burns too slowly. The bullet goes too fast, like beyond the point to where the gunpowder can stay compressed and burn properly, and you get unburnt gunpowder. It's just not ideal for the cartridge, but I've got a bunch of it, so I'm trying to figure something out. I'm hoping that these heavier 425 grain bullets will allow me to be able to use 4064. If I still have unburnt powder, I might bump up to a 500 grain bullet. That being said, these are actually slightly undercharged from the recommended loading for Trapdoor Springfields. I went ahead and I undercharged it by about 10% just because 4570 brass is a little bit on the expensive side. I only have so much of it and I'd like to preserve it for as long as possible. This is also a public gun range. You guys are going to hear gunfire in the background. And the 4570 Trapdoor Springfield we're shooting from today is original. Like it's from 1886, I think, or somewhere around that time period. 1882. I can't remember what the date on it actually is, but it's like 140 years old, and I'm firing smokeless powder from it, so I went ahead and I undercharged this a little bit. We're not going to get the full brunt force of 4570 coming back in my shoulder. That being said, these are still 425 grain bullets, so we should still see some pretty gosh darn powerful performance. My one worry is if they keyhole. I remember this rifle having issues with keyholing. I guess I'll just put these in this pocket. I remember this rifle having issues with keyholing at one point, and then I ran 300 grain bullets through it, and it did not have issues with keyholing. I think whenever I was running the heavier bullets, that's where we had issues with keyholing. So I might just have to use 300 grain bullet, and I might just have to use a faster burning powder in this gun. Like 4064 is just not ideal for the 4570. Now, I have ran this gun plenty with black powder, which you guys can go back and watch that on the channel. I've got several videos of me doing that. I'm not against doing that, but then you got to clean your gun, and I live in a city, so I kind of like clean it into the bathtub, and then I got to clean the bathtub. It's just a process. I'd much rather figure out a good smokeless powder load. All right, let me put on my ears and we will walk out to the gun range. Somebody left a door out here. This is a public gun range. They left a door and there's kind of like an empty spot on it. I want to see where this hits and if it keyholes, and having a nice blank spot on the door is a good way to figure that out. Okay, just because of the position of the sun, I'm going to keep you guys right there so we don't get like lens glare effects. Hopefully that's a good enough spot. The way this loads, hammer back. Actually, I guess you're supposed to like half cock it back. There's three cocks. There is a safety cock, which is whenever the gun's loaded and you're just walking around. A half cock for loading, which is what we're doing right now. Take your cartridge, set it into the trapdoor, close that trapdoor, and then whenever you're ready to fire, full cock. Our door's right there. I'm not sure if it's popping up on camera. I will go ahead and look at the back screen real quick. Yeah, you guys can see the door. All right, so the door's right there. There's a spot on it that has not been shot. I'm gonna shoot it, and we're going to see where this hits and if it keyholes, or even if it fires properly. I know I've had issues with 4570 and 4064 not burning right. Firing. Oh this is a little bit more stout of a 4570 load than I was expecting. The stuff I'm used to firing is like super undercharged, but this right here really was not that bad. Look at that. We got no unburnt powder coming out of this thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we might have ourselves a winner. Yeah, let's see. Oh, hold on. We have one little speck of unburnt powder. So that was still quite a bit of power. I'm gonna walk down there, look at the door real quick. No idea who's doing what out here, but there's explosions going on. All right, so yeah, it seems to have hit right where we were aiming for. I'm a little worried that it might have keyholed. It kind of looks like it's not a perfect shot, like a perfect round hole, but we also hit the trim of the door. I do have one more round here, so these are the only two that I brought. I'm gonna go ahead and send this one downrange. I figured there's no point in loading up a whole bunch, and like this is just the test fire basically. But I'm gonna fire this one, same spot. Looks like that one hit a little bit high. I'm gonna try aiming a little bit lower, and we'll see what happens, I guess. Oh boy. All right, I kind of pulled that one a little bit. That was my fault, but it still seems to have hit. Basically, someone's having fun out there. It still seems to be hitting basically where I'm aiming at. If I look at this right here, oh, we do have some rusty oil from last time I cleaned it. Yeah, we got a little bit of unburnt powder, but man, that is enough power going downrange for me to feel comfortable with. So your heavier bullets, they seem to work just fine with this particular loading of 4064. I can't quite remember what the grainage is, but just you can look it up. 4064, 425 bullet, 4570 for a trapdoor, download 10%, that's the grainage. Okay, now I'm gonna take the camera with me over here. So one thing I don't like about public ranges, there's ranges all throughout here, so walking down here could be a little dangerous. Oh no! Ladies and gentlemen, that right there is a keyholed round. I can't see the screen, so I'm not sure how well that's popping up. I'll just point to it right there. That is a keyholed round. That's not good. That's okay. I know that this thing still shoots 300 grain bullets fine. So that might be what I have to stick with for this particular 4570 trapdoor. All right, just for fun, this right here is a round ball loaded into 4570. This is what I call a gallery load. I've never actually tested these things. I've shot them a ton just because they're super cheap and easy to make. But it's literally just I think it's a 4.57 round ball that I pushed into a 4570 case, and then I have a really, really light charge of, I think, tight group in this thing. So this is a gallery load. Not particularly powerful, should have about the same power going down range as say a 38 special, but I want to see how much power we have against that door and how accurate these gallery loads are. This right here, I think it's like a 135 grain-ish bullet. Definitely not all that powerful, definitely not all that heavy. I want to see if we penetrate the door, and I want to see where we hit the door. So this is me firing that. Okay, yeah, that wasn't very powerful at all. I'm gonna walk down there, see if I can find that little round ball hole. That's why I like public shooting ranges. Just walk around and find random stuff. All right, so this looks like 7/8 ounce, 2 3/4 inch, 1300. It says 3 gun. It looks like a rifled slug. That's what that looks like. Yep, slug right there. So this stuff right here seems to hit not exactly where I'm aiming, but this is not made to be an accurate shot. This is literally, like I said, just a gallery load. But maybe a foot high or so, a little bit to the left. I imagine that it's probably going to spread about, at this distance, 30 yards or so, maybe a foot in all direction, which is fine for range plinking and whatnot. That's good enough for me. I'm going to test that out a little bit, but I'm probably going to show that off on another video. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you on the next episode. else I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.